We have a little bit of justice today. Amber Guyger, so a former Dallas police officer who shot an unarmed black neighbor in his own apartment, was found guilty of murder. Now, that's really, really huge. Now, this former officer was charged in the death of her 26-year-old neighbor, Botham Shemjan. I remember doing that story a while back. Now, her defense says that she accidentally went into the wrong floor of her apartment complex and then into the wrong apartment, the unit directly above hers, and shot him, she claims, in self-defense. Well, obviously, the jury did not agree. So there are a lot of details in this case that did not make a lot of sense. For one, how do you not know if the apartment that you're in is not your apartment? Like, I get it. Overworked, etc. Right? And I've heard all the basically excuses that she came up with. Wasn't really buying. Again, if you pay attention to the details, which she apparently did not, he had a red doormat. She did not. The apartment numbers are different, but she says, well, I got in anyway because the door plate was not fully latched, defective. Now, when she got in, she probably should have noticed the place wasn't hers, but she says, oh, it was dark. Okay, well, if it was dark, how did she not notice Mr. Shin walking towards her? Which, by the way, he was not. She claimed, oh, he was walking towards me saying, hey, 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 but that's not true. In fact, according to the prosecutors and according to medical evidence, the gunshot that killed Botham Jean was at a downward trajectory, meaning that he was either sitting or in a cowering position, which makes sense if, and this is what the prosecution says, he was sitting at home on the couch watching TV, eating a bowl of vanilla ice cream when this had happened. So either he was still sitting when he was shot or cowering when he was shot because some crazy woman came in and shot him. So that's what's going on here, right? So, look, according to prosecution witnesses, including neighbors who said they did not hear verbal commands, and a medical examiner who testified that the bullet had a downward trajectory, indicated Mr. Jean was either getting up from a seated position or was in a cowering position when he was shot. Totally consistent with his story. So, this is a very incredibly odd case. Her account made absolutely no sense. And I get it that some people will make the argument that cops are overworked and they do make mistakes. It's true. I'm not saying that people don't make mistakes, but this explanation of hers did not make a whole lot of sense. What came out earlier in the deliberations, in the trial, is when we found out that right before John was shot, she was sharing sex on her phone with her partner and was actually on the phone just before the shooting. So she worked a 13-hour shift. Apparently, she wasn't as tired or as out of it as she thought. It's really, really convenient. And again, a lot didn't add up. And so the defense was desperate. You know what they tried to do? They tried to invoke the castle doctrine. Now, the castle doctrine says, well, your home is your castle, so you're allowed to defend yourself, right? The defense tried to invoke that, saying, well, hey, she thought she was in her own apartment, and she thought there was an intruder, so she had the right to shoot him dead. But she was in the wrong apartment. Imagine the precedent that it would set. That you could literally go into somebody else's house or apartment or whatever and say, oh, I'm so confused. I think this is my house, and then shoot someone when it's not actually your house. I'm really glad the jury did not buy that argument because it's disastrous. So now, again, she faces life in prison up to 99 years, between 5 to 99 years. It's a big range, right? And so a lot of people are shocked about this because here you have a white police officer who was in uniform but off duty, right? Actually facing a murder charge for shooting an unarmed black man. For me, I don't find it as shocking as a lot of people, right? Do because you look at the details. How could they not convict her? I mean, again, everything that did not add up in this case from the defense and all the evidence against her by the prosecution, it seems like a fairly clear-cut case to me. So now Lee Merritt, who's an attorney for the Jean family, representing them in their civil case, applauded the verdict. He called it a huge victory for them as well as all black people in America. He said it's a signal that the tide is going to change here. Now, Dallas has been actually pretty good when it comes to training their police to handle people, African Americans, okay, to basically not shoot them and not shoot unarmed people. So that's great. And so this is another good positive step from Dallas. This is showing them that they actually did it right. But how low of a bar do we have to say that this is such a big victory for such a fairly clear-cut case of murder? But again, race relations in this country, kind of disastrous right now. So, and of course, you have people that are going to lament the charge against this young woman, right? But the prosecution, again, they made such an effective case. There was no contest. Murder, by the way, is a really, really high bar. And so it was either murder or manslaughter. But the jury said definite murder, which meant premeditation. And so, again, very, very clear, very clear. But it's good that there's some justice here. Hey, guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.